Hey guys, RPro here, and in this one we're going to be talking about output in C++. Now in the last video I said we're going to go ahead and pick this apart, and that we shall do. Now start from the top. What is this? This, guys, is called a preprocessor directive. And in this preprocessor directive I'm including a library. So basically, in short, this is like copying and pasting when it comes to the compiler. And in this library, there's a lot of things defined that's going to help us dealing with input and output. So that's what IOStream means. It's input, output, stream. So one of those things is called cout, and that's how we output things to our screen over here. Now, the reason why I have it this way is because I'm only using cout. Now, in other videos and other places, you may see it on the web, that you may see this guy right here. Now, as of right now, there for a while, you can get away with doing this as of right now, but later on, it's not a good idea to do this, because typically, let's see if I can get this thing to come up. No, I guess not. No, it's not going to come up. It would, and so like my Visual Studio and things like that, but this thing is including a lot of every single object in say IOStream. If I decide to include another library, it'll include everything in that library and so on and so forth, and you're including a lot of things that we just don't need. So, and that's my 2 cents about it. You can use it if you want to, so use that at your own discretion, but I'm not going to use it because I don't like using it whatsoever. I would rather just include just whatever I need, and this is how I do it. This basically does the same thing using namespace std does, with the exception of you have to kind of look up what objects that you need, such as in this case I'm using cout. But this makes it where I don't have to do something like this. Now, what does all this mean? So this is basically, we're getting explaining this second line here. This is me including the object that I need to use output. Now, when I do this right here, it just makes it where I don't have to do this every single time that I'm using cout. So, and with this one line, it's not going to hurt to do that and get rid of that. It's not going to hurt at all. But if we have like 50 or more of these cout statements, that's going to get really, really, really tedious. And it's going to get really old fast. So if I know I'm fixing to do a lot of output statements, I typically omit that and I just do this instead. That way I can just use cout on its own. So that's why I have that. And of course, every C++ program needs a main somewhere. That is our main function, and it's going to be the first function it runs. And any other function that later on, which we will create, you have to call it in main, because this is the starting point of every single C++ program. So that takes care of that. And of course, this is the beginning of our function. That's what the curly brace means. And this curly brace going the other direction is signifying the end of the program. And keep in mind, you always need a blank space at the end of every single C++ program. Anyway, now we move on to this one. So this is where the magic is happening, where it's outputting this statement right here. Now, of course, I like to think of this as meaning console output. This guy will output not in anything and everything to the screen, but it attempts to. That's what I should say. So we've got this cout guy. His basic job is to output things over here, and we have this guy right here, and this is an operator, ladies and gentlemen. And it's called the stream insertion operator. So basically, it is paired with output, cout in this case. Now, notice the direction it goes, and with whatever is being put over here, if you think of that as an arrow, it's flowing towards cout. And what does cout do once again? It allows things to be outputted to the screen. So that's one way to tell which operator you need to use with cout, because in the next tutorial I'll be introducing another object, and it'll use another operator that's very similar to this one. So let's get to this guy. So you could probably indicate what this is. This is what's going to be outputted to the screen. But there is a literal name for this, and it's called a string literal. But it's because it is in double quotation marks here. So any string literal needs to be in double quotations in C++. Now, every single line needs to be ended with a semicolon, as you can see here. The only exception is functions and preprocessor directives. And that's excuse me, that's pretty much it. So when you're using including objects, you need a semicolon. Every single line in main needs a semicolon as well. Even this guy. No, this guy, as of C++ 11, I believe, feel free to correct me in the comments, I don't believe we actually need return 0, so we shouldn't get any kind of error message whatsoever if we decide to delete that, but call me old-fashioned, I like to use it. So that's basically what this is doing what's called a return call. It's exiting the function, and once it exits main, the program is done. So it basically what it's saying, return 0, saying everything went great, hunky-dory, fine. So that's what 0 indicates. It means everything ran great. So key elements to keep in mind in this video in regards to this Hello World program is this is how you include a library in C++. You use a preprocessor directive, and pay attention to these right here. We'll cross this bridge when we get there when it comes to things beside these little angle brackets, but as of right now, everything that you will include needs to be contained within angle brackets, and the IOStream is the library we're including. Now especially if you're using an IDE, most editors that are geared towards programming, especially C++, if you use pound include and you enter that first angle bracket there, and you start typing in your library, it'll automatically kind of pop up, like an auto-completes, what I should say, and it'll tell you what library you're about to include, or kind of suggest what you need to include. Of course, if you're using something like Vim, bare bone Vim, vanilla Vim, I guess I could say, or Notepad, or Pluma, something like that, then you're probably not going to have that, because they're not really. Vim is geared towards programming for Linux, but it really doesn't have autocomplete and things like that unless you put it in there yourself. So, that's kind of getting off topic here. And of course, this is how you include your objects. And keep in mind, you can include them individually without doing this. You can also do this as well to include them individually inside main. And that's pretty useful if you're only like in this situation where I'm only using one cout. And keep in mind, that is a single line comment. I didn't even realize I was doing that. I was going to do another video on comments, but well, here we go. There's a single line comment. It's 2 forward slashes, and a multi-line comment is / asterisk, and to close the excuse me, sorry about that. To close the multi-line comment, you do an asterisk again and another / and that's how you do comments, ladies and gentlemen. So regardless, back on track. Every C++ program needs a main, and notice the open and closing curly braces. Those are absolutely needed. They indicate the beginning and end of the function. And we have our output statement here. It's going to output hello world to the program. And oh, I left something out. Notice this guy. What do you think this guy does? That's actually a character. So that is the new line character. That's me telling C++ through the string literal that to output this and then just break to a new line. So there is another way we can break to a new line without using the new line character, and there is another object in IOStream that's called endl, and very basically it does the same thing, but it also flushes the output buffer, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. But as of right now, you can think of it as another way to create a new line. So without that, let's see what that looks like without a new line. Let's see if it does it in PowerShell. Sometimes you'll see the result, sometimes you won't. So we can go ahead and write make here, and go ahead and execute something. And notice I didn't use the extension here. There we are. So it didn't really do it in this one, but sometimes, especially in terminal, I know it will in terminal, this line would be up against this exclamation mark, and that's not what we want. So typically that's why that end L's there, or new line character. We'll go across characters in the video after next. Evidently, I know I've ran this before without the extension. There we go. As I was going to say, I know I've used this before without the extension, so I was going to point that out a while ago, that you don't always need to type the extension, but I guess it's safe to do so. Excuse me, because, you know, that. So, guys, that's it. Pretty simple stuff as of right now. That's actually how you output text to your command line, or terminal, or PowerShell. Now you can go ahead and feel free to practice at anything I show, or try to jump ahead if you want to. The more you practice at a code, the better you're going to get, because it's not something you can read about or watch videos on constantly and get good at. You have to actually physically code yourself and practice to be able to get good at coding. It's like riding a bicycle or swimming. You have to actually do it to be good at it. So really keep that in mind and get plenty of practice if you're really serious about being a good programmer. So that pretty much wraps this video up, and in the next one, like I stated, we'll be talking about inputs. So guys, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. If I made any mistakes, please leave it in the comments below. I'm only human. And guys, thank you for watching once again, and happy coding.